First of all, thank you, Ken. Thank you to the Mid-American Conference. We're very honored to be here in Detroit to represent the West Division of the Mid-American Conference. It's been a heck of a year. It really has. Not only for our football team, but to be honest with the whole city of Kalamazoo. Hasn't been the easiest year of 2016. And if we could shed some type of hope, some type of light on our city and our university from a lot of the things that have happened throughout the year, then we've done a pretty elite job of that so far. And I say so far because we're not done yet. There's a lot to accomplish. It's been a year of the firsts. Last year was the year of the nevers. This is more of the year of the firsts. I think last year we had somewhere around 27, 28 nevers, what we called them, had never happened in the program history. This year, a lot of our players said, wow, I mean, how can we get to even more than that? Right now we have 49 firsts that have never happened in the history of the culture or the program that we're very proud of, with all due respect. We're just very proud to be back here in Detroit and really looking forward to the game tomorrow. We have an elite opponent, Frank Solich and the Ohio Bobcats, who did a tremendous job in the East. Frank's a Hall of Fame coach in my mind, and just one of those guys that have consistently proven to put his team to the upper echelon of the league year after year after year. And it's no surprise that they're here in the MAC championship as well. I'm very proud of our football team, very proud of our players. With the All-MAC selections, we're very honored to have 14 of those, and all well-deserved, from the first team, second team, third team, to the players of the year, which I'm sure you'll get to, and you already are informed of that. But it really is just a special year. It's one of those years that come along that you just really want to enjoy. And I hope our players truly look back on this season when it's all done and over with and really have those moments and memories to share with their families, their children, their grandchildren one day. This is what sports is all about. And pulling out of Kalamazoo today and having the whole street lined with our city was very powerful. I was even informed there was one guy who ran out of the woods on 94, exit 82, literally out of the woods. With a Western Michigan flag. So there's a guy out there in the woods with a Western Michigan flag. Just be aware of that. But it really has shown where we've really come from 3.5 years ago, being 1-11, to where we are right now at 12-0. It's a credit to our players. It's a credit to our culture and our coaching staff and our entire city of Kalamazoo. It just shows the power of people. When you have the right people and the right vision, anything's possible. And we're very proud to represent the West, very proud to be at Western Michigan University with our team, and very proud to be here in Detroit. So that's my opening statement. With that, we'll open up for questions.
Corey and Zach, how difficult is it to come into this, rank where you guys are and everything, and then to have a team that really has nothing to lose and everything to gain by knocking you guys off? I mean, how challenging is it to just think about going up against a team like that?
Go ahead, Corey.
I mean, it's not very challenging. We understand our opponent, and we know that they're a very elite opponent, and we're just pretty much focusing on what we can control and focusing on us. I wouldn't really say it's very challenging. We've come so far, ever since that 1-11 season, and these guys have worked extremely hard ever since then, and we're ready for it.
Yeah, I think what he talked about, we can't control the uncontrollables, and we're going to focus on us. And we're a process-oriented team. We focus on the work that we put in each and every day to change our best and to grow higher, and that's really all we can control. We can't control what the Ohio Bobcats do. We can't control the rankings and all the pressure on the outside media. No one's going to put more pressure on us than we put on ourselves, and we're going to continue to do what we've done to get here, and that's learning from our past and growing higher and changing our best.
Well, there's a lot of differences. First and foremost, you're not out recruiting, you're preparing, right, as a coaching staff, which is a little bit odd because there's not many teams playing this week. And I talked to our players about that, of how fortunate they are to be playing this week. There's not that many teams playing for championships, and we're one of them. And I think you have to embrace that. And there's a lot of challenges that go along with that, but there's a lot of positives as well as you continue to go. But again, it's the preparation part. You've got to make sure as you plan your schedule at, only the 6th week of the season, okay, what could happen if this and if that? So you're making many different schedules as you go through the year, just in case of different possibilities like we are now. Even as a head coach, you make calendars that are, a year out. You're doing that right now. So, but I think the players have handled this exceptionally well. They really have. We've had some of our best practices this week. And when you start to talk about changing your best and growing higher and embracing your past to create your future, that's what this team's all about. It's not about one individual. It's about everybody collectively doing their job at an elite level and really sacrificing for one another. These guys love each other, and it's so fun to coach, and you don't want that to ever end. So to extend it another week is a lot of fun. To be able to do that in the, I can't say the regular season, but the postseason championship week, it's really an honor to be here. It's very humbling, but it also shows the confidence these guys have in the culture, in themselves, and each other. But it's also humbling at the same time because you do want to enjoy it, and you know how hard it is to get here, and not everybody does that consistently.
Why has this team been so special?
Because they're selfless. It's the most selfless team I've ever been a part of. And that doesn't mean that every team here every year is going to be selfless from here on out. It's an individualized team. And it's how they relate to each other. It's how they talk to each other, how they respect each other, how they challenge each other. We had a saying, when your best players are your hardest workers, now you have a culture. That's what Corey and Zach have done. These are seniors that have really failed to grow. They haven't just grown because of successes. They've had to go through 1-11. They've had to go through a lot of taking the blame, understanding what leadership's all about. Leadership's a very tough, lonely place at times, and they felt what that was like, even at a very young age. But they use those things, and they've embraced those things and those challenges to create their future into what you see today. That's what's fun about this team. That's what makes them special, is they've never felt sorry for themselves. At 1-11 and 8-5 and a loss in the bowl game to a 1-3 start last year and coming back and winning our first bowl game in program history to this year. They've never felt bad from themselves. They've never judged themselves. They've kept everything on the outside, and educated themselves as we've gone through the program, taking one day at a time, one motivation at a time. And I'm very proud of them for that, because that's what shows. That's what shows really the character of a football team, is how you respond to those things. And these guys have done it flawlessly. It's been absolutely inspiring to watch them and how they do it.
I want to follow up. You were talking about a top here in Kalamazoo. You're talking about the Uber shooting.
Yeah, the Uber shootings, and then also the bicycle accident, the deaths we had there. It's just hard. It's such a tight-knit community. There's 150,000 people in about a 6-7 mile radius. It's one of the most giving communities I've ever been a part of. So high the philanthropy. There's so many organizations that come to Kalamazoo to do a lot of their charity work. And it was a tough year. It was a tough year. And again, if we could give those people some type of hope and look towards the future and really believe in something, and maybe get away from those types of issues on a daily basis, especially if you were truly affected by it. Not that, our football teams should be that important to you, but if you can at least find some joy in your city's football team, then we're doing our job. We're giving and serving, which is the number one thing in our program, but beyond anything else. Wins, losses, serving and giving is everything what this program's about. And if we can do that and make those people smile and bring joy to life for 60 minutes, then that's what we're here to do.
Hey, Coach, you talked after,
Andy.
after game day. You were just so incredibly relieved that it was over, and you talked about being happy that you weren't the guy that screwed it up. And then I read your Players Tribune article yesterday, and you talked a little bit about being the green button guy and always worrying. I'm just wondering if you can enjoy this. If you do, or you're always worried, your mind's moving and worried about the next obstacle, or now you're finally here and you're kind of savoring it a little bit.
Well, it all depends on what you're enjoying. You know what I really enjoy? These guys. I enjoy Corey. I enjoy Zach. I enjoy our kids as people. That's what I really take joy in. But when you talk about the process, it's very difficult to take a lot of joy in that part at that moment, because as a head coach, you get paid a lot of money to be paranoid and worry and find solutions to problems. Like I said before, as a head coach, you're not just a guy everybody walks in and says, hey, you're doing a great job. Yeah, I got this for you. You're doing awesome. That's not what the media is about. That's not what people come in your office for. They come with problems, and they come to you for a solution. And so you're always thinking, and you're always moving. Your mind's always going. But that's why you're the head football coach. You get paid to do that. Our calendar's done as of today, a year out in advance. I mean, your mind constantly moves, and if you stop to think about right now, you're going to miss a lot of things, right? But what I do enjoy right now are them. That's key. And we're going to enjoy our time on Ford Field here at 5 or 6 o'clock, and we're going to have some fun, and just enjoy the players, because this is what college football is all about right here, these guys. And these guys are the ones that deserve all the credit.
For coach and then players, I guess, whoever wins tomorrow is going to win the match for the first time in a long time. Throw in your national ranking, undefeated record, talk about record attendance tomorrow. Do you all have a sense of how anticipated this game is when you compare to some of the games here in the past?
I'll start by just saying, we want to be 1-0 tomorrow. It's very simple for us. We've told the players, and they understand. We're not going to sit there and trick them into something. They know how big this is. They're very mature. They've been through a lot. They understand exactly where they are and how hard it is to get to this point because they haven't gotten here before, and now they're here. They know how hard that is, but they've also played in major, big-time games with an incredible amount of expectation, an incredible amount of pressure ever since 1-0 at Northwestern, right? I mean, everybody all of a sudden started talking about undefeated when you were 1-0, and they're telling these guys that, right? The question after Northwestern was, so you guys think you can go undefeated? I mean, we are 1-0. Right? And these guys have had to handle all those questions the entire year. But I think it's phenomenal for the Mid-American Conference to be able to have a sellout crowd, to have this type of hype for our conference. It really is a feather in John Steinbrecker's cap and Ken and everybody affiliated with the Mid-American Conference. So I'll let them answer how they feel too.
Well, like Coach said, we're looking to go 1-0 in this Ohio season. We understand our opponent, like I said, and this week has been a great week and great week of preparation, and we're enjoying the process and enjoying every step of the way, and I'm just looking forward to this game tomorrow.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is this is just fun. It's fun to be a part of this and fun to have this opportunity and also to see the pride in the community like Coach was talking about earlier, people lining the streets, but just kind of bringing back that pride to our university. And if we can do that and we can kind of get people to come back and see us play, and a lot of people that haven't come in a while watch us play. There's no better feeling than that, and that's why we play football and just to have fun, and we're really excited about having an extra game. This is something we've never had, so especially this being Corey and I's last season, we're trying to get as many games as we can in before they tell us we can't play at Western Michigan University anymore.
PJ, following up on Andy's question about the pressure that you've been under. I mean, Sparky Anderson said in 1984 that was the toughest year he ever had because they got off that big start, 35-5. He was worried about screwing it up. With you, was there more pressure when you were 1-11, or more, worries than this year? Or
They're very different in very different ways, I will say. I will say this is when you're 1-11, what I've learned is it's very difficult because you're losing, right? But at the outside world, right, our media, which is the world they live in on their phone, the Twitter, the Facebook, the social media, doesn't care that you're 1-11. No, you're not even the story. No one talks about you. Nobody wants to talk to you. And once in a while, people will make a remark here or there, or they'll yell something to you, but that's great. But our program's extremely positive. So they flocked at 1-11 to the positivity of the culture, even when we're 1-11. Like, how could this culture be so positive even when you're 1-11? When you become undefeated, there's a lot of positivity everywhere. There's positivity always in our culture, but then you worry about the positivity on the outside because that's where young people usually flock to, not the negativity, and there isn't much out there. So that's when you always worry. But the one thing these guys have done a tremendous job of is always bring things back to our culture, right? We've celebrated wins. You've seen us after games in locker room. We're not going to celebrate like we've been there before. We are going to have a lot of fun because it takes a ton of time and effort to get to that point. Then on Sunday, we always celebrate in our team meeting for about a minute. It's probably not as fun as they think it is. For me, it's very exciting. But we do celebrate, and then it's over. It's done with. And then we educate them how to handle the pressure and the expectations as you move forward. But the difference is when the outside world is really negative, you don't want to spend too much time out there. You flock towards positivity, and that's where our culture was at its best. But now with the positivity on the outside, you want to make sure they're hearing the right message all the time. And that's why I love practicing in the mornings, because you can start their day off with the message you want them to know and what to expect as they move forward throughout their day.
Just one quick follow-up. I know that you've been asked about the rankings because you know you can't control that, but the comments that were made by the playoff committee the other night, and have been made consistently, strength of schedule, obviously the playoff committee doesn't look very fondly of the MAC. You respond to that and your overall body of work.
Well, I will just say this. All we're looking to do is go 1-0. This is the #1 team in my ranking, period. And that's the only thing that matters to me. I bet you that's the only thing that matters to Kathy Beauregard and everybody involved in the Western Michigan University organization and our community, period. And that's the only thing we can control. There's nothing else I can do or say and convince somebody to do anything. Our body of work speaks for itself. think everybody understands how hard it is to go undefeated, even to get to this point, especially with the coaches that are on the committee, former coaches. But I'm not going to say anything that's going to make them think differently. Our schedule's our schedule. Our conference is one of the most competitive, in my opinion, one of the most competitive across the board with parity in the country. You never know who's going to win the league, right? And any given Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Maction, Friday, whatever it is, you just don't know who's going to win. And there's upsets all over our conference. And really, everybody's at a very equal playing field, too. When you talk about funding, when you talk about recruiting, it's not like it's just, you know this team's going to have this and this team's not. So, but we can't handle that. Whoever's on our schedule, we're going to take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time, and that's all we're going to control. And we need to be 1-0 tomorrow, or it doesn't matter.
Frank Solich was very complimentary earlier about your very balanced offense. On the flip side, I want to get your take across the board on facing a defense that's number one rushing defense. It has over 40 sacks. It has the MAC Defensive Player of the Year. You know the guys I'm talking about. Your thoughts on that challenge?
Well, we understand that they have a very elite defense, and like I said previously, we're going to go out there and control what we can control. And we had an elite week of preparation. We got after it, and we're going to go out there and do what we do. It's pretty much there's nothing really special about it. We understand that they're very elite on defense, and we're just going to go out there and just be us. That's all we can do.
Yeah, definitely watching them. Their defense is really, really tough. And they're one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the MAC. And we recognize that we have a tough challenge ahead of us. And that was very clear right off the bat, just looking at the numbers. And then as I got watching more and more film with Coach Shiraka and Coach Fleck and the boys, it continued to really become clear that we're going to have our hands full. And but we're looking forward to the challenge, and we've approached this week like we have any other week, and that's focusing on us and how we can continue to get better each and every day. And like Corey said, we've had an elite week of preparation, and our guys are focused on what we can control, and that's us. And that's how we're going to approach this game. We recognize who we're playing and how elite they are, but we're going to continue to do what we've done all season, and that's worry about us.
Coach and players, now that you're through the 12-game roster, so to speak, without necessarily looking back or maybe peeking back, what was your exhale game or exhale moment or whatever you want to call it, to where you can really focus on, hey, we got an opportunity to do something? Was there any,
I don't think I've exhaled just yet.
but I hope I'm getting the question across.
I know they can help. Maybe they have.
We're just focused on going 1-0 in the Ohio season. Like Coach said, we have yet to exhale. We have a lot left to accomplish, and there's a lot of things that we have left to do. A lot of meat left on the bone, so to speak, and we have not exhaled, to answer your question.
Like Zach said, we have not exhaled. We're heading in the right direction, and we have another step to take, which is this next game against Ohio, and we're going to do what we do.
And that's no disrespect to your question. That's just kind of the reality of the culture, right? I mean, I think everybody understood once you won the first game and you beat a Big Ten opponent who's supposed to be pretty good. I think everybody kind of looked around. At least all of your questions were in the media. I mean, after that, that's what your questions were. You guys got a chance to be pretty good. I mean, we knew we had a really good football team. I will say that. We knew we had a really good football team going into this. And you always have to win that first one to kind of get that thing going. You know where you're at after that first one. Well, yes, I would say they are our biggest challenge because their run defense is the top in the league, right? But I think it goes into a few things. Brian Callahan, Bill Kenny, Kenny Burns, Kirk Shiraka, incredible coaching staff on offense, especially when you're talking about running the football. And Matt Simon, our wide receiver coach. You watch our wide receivers, they block. This, in my opinion, is one of the best blocking wide receivers in the country. And he gets all this talk about him being a phenomenal player. That's true, but he's a complete player. And if you've got a player that's a dominating blocker plus what he does, the sky's the limit for him because he's so selfless. He's going to show that no matter if I'm getting the ball or not, I'm going to play the game the right way. But our offensive line does a tremendous job. Our tight ends, Donnie Ernsberger and Odell Miller are an incredible part to this offense, unsung heroes that really don't get a lot of credit. but they're glorified fullbacks / receivers. It's tough to find that body type. But I think it's, we're not that complicated. We are going to run what we run, and we are going to know where you're going to be. Instead of having 15,000 run plays at all these guru X and O things, we have our system. It's close to being the same system as 1 and 11. We got better players. They executed at a higher level, and they're way more mature. But I think with any really good running game, you better have a really good play-action pass game. And I think that's where they come in. Zach has 30-some touchdowns and 1 interception. And I don't want to embarrass him, but I just want to make sure everybody understands how important and how hard that is to do. I know our running game gets a lot of credit, but think about that for a second. I mean, that is maybe the greatest statistic of the entire year in college football, and nobody talks about it. I'm not sure why, because I don't care who it is. Tom Brady in the NFL, not sure if he even did that back in college. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Right? I mean, go back to Joe Montana. Did he do that in college? I'm not comparing those guys, but I'm saying the feat of having that shows that you have a guy that can run your offense. Not just a great playmaker. He runs the offense. He's another coach. He's a head coach and an offensive coordinator on the field playing for you. It's unbelievable. And so the credit goes to the players of executing and taking all that preparation and all that time into something that's very meticulous, very tedious, and understanding that it's not just about the plays, it's about the fundamentals, the details, and it's about doing it together cohesively and collectively, and everybody making sure that the run game is the focus. And that's, I think, what they've done. So they've combined all those things.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in your question was the balance aspect. And we do what we do, and we understand that the run game and the pass game, they have to work together. And we run the ball. RTB stands for run the ball. And we know what we're going to do every game when we come out there. We're going to run the ball. And our offensive line knows that. They're the engine behind our offense. But we also know that in order for us to run the ball effectively, we have to be able to be a threat down the field throwing the ball. That's where Corey comes into play, and Carrington and Mike Henry and guys like that. We just try to be balanced, and when the defense tries to take one thing away, we do the other. And we try to be an unselfless team, a selfless team, and do whatever we can to be effective on offense, whether that's running the ball or passing the ball.
You guys burst out of the gate, obviously, and you're 4-0, you're 5-0, 6-0, knocked off some good opponents, you're beating them up pretty good. There's a sense in the community, fairly or not, that this was kind of a MAC championship or bust type of year. With that in mind, now that you're finally here, is there kind of a, the hard part's done, we didn't mess it up along the way, we got one more.
We've come a long way as a program with 2 championships in 108 years to say championship or bust. We've come a long way. I actually like that. I kind of like that expectation and that pressure. But we've come a long way to say that. But that's what you want in your community. That's what you want to have. But I really believe it's not just coach speak. These guys have done everything we've asked them to do. It's 1-game seasons, and that's what every coach in America tries to get their team to do. 1-game season. But to get 105 players that are 18 to 22 to actually do that and believe it and buy into it, that's hard. That's very difficult. And to not let them exhale and say, you know what, this is good enough. But when you're 1 and 11 and you're the worst team in college football and you still have that memory and that moment in your mind, you don't focus on it. But when you have that, you want to create something different. And you know what it's going to take to get there.
Yeah, I know that you've been talking a lot about offense, but can you talk a little bit about Spillane, because without that strip at Northwestern,
You got it.
talking unbeaten season, and also Adams with 17th after the loss.
Yeah, I'll first say this. There's an old saying, defense wins championships. And when you look at the 2 teams that made it to the Mid-American Conference Championship, their defenses are 1-2, right? And you look at Frank Solich, he's an old-school ball coach. He's one of the most legendary coaches in college football. He understands defense wins championships. And that's really, I'm sure I'm not speaking, maybe I'm speaking for him, or I don't mean to, but I'm sure he knows that's what got him here. I understand as a head coach, defense got us here. Right? As much as our offense plays and how many points they've scored, the defense had to play elite all year for us to be able to have the possessions, have the turnover margin that we have. We've turned them over 5 times on offense, but think about it, we're plus 18. Think how many turnovers we had to get. And that's a credit to Keon Adams coming off the edge. He is one of the most explosive players, I think, in the country, let alone our conference. He's very explosive. There's 2 defensive ends in this game that I think are two of the best ones in the country. And they're number 93, and then obviously Keon Adams for us. And but Robert Spillane stripping that ball at Northwestern, I mean, they're going in to score, everybody. And we're 0-1 right out the gate if he doesn't strip that ball. But nobody really saw Sam Beal, you know, the true sophomore corner who is a thin guy, come up and hit the running back low so he would jar the ball a little bit loose, and that's when Robert could get it out. The one thing I love about our defense is they're very opportunistic, and they understand the ball is the program. They're a suffocating, swarming defense. But that's what Ohio is. And that's what I really respect about them and have a ton of respect for them is they play defense the right way. And it's fun to watch defensive elite football in 2016. And when you put Frank Solich's film up there, that's what you see. And it's pretty neat to see that in 2016 with all these fancy offenses scoring all these points. It's really neat to see that his defense has shut down a lot of these offenses. And it's a credit to him, and it's a credit to Ed Pinkham, you know, our staff, Jimmy Williams and David Duggan, our GAs, and all of our defensive players, because they couldn't do it alone. But again, same type of team. Keon Adams you're talking about was 1-11. You know, he understands what it was like to have 70 put against you against Iowa or 60-some put against. He played in that game, right? So you got to give credit to our defensive coaches, though. They've really done a tremendous job of molding these players together, and they play really well in sync and cohesively.
Zach, in previous post-game interviews with Corey sitting next to you, you've had a good time of kind of lauding his, you know, praise on him and his experiences in the game and his records and things. A few minutes ago, Coach referenced you as another coach on the field, as another coach on the sideline. And emotionally, when you hear a guy that has, in your words, brought you from a young man to a man in your life, to hear him say things like that and to talk about you as a player and a person like that, what emotions does that bring up in you?
So you're going to make me say nice things about Coach Fleck?
No. About how you feel.
No, I mean,
Never put you in that position.
obviously, I mean, what Coach Fleck has done for me is probably undescribable. And it's something that you may not be able to really describe because it's something that all the things we've been through together and, you know, the coach and quarterback relationship there's really nothing like it. Because like Coach always says, we get more credit than we deserve and we get more blame than we deserve. But that just comes with the job. And I was right there with him when we were 1-11, when he was the worst head coach in college football and I was the worst quarterback in college football. And now we're still together, and we're those same people, but we've grown a lot. And I've learned a ton from him, and he's been very open and honest with me, which has allowed me to learn a lot and grow as a man. And I've learned a ton about leadership and life. And the things that I've learned from him and this program and this culture are invaluable, and they're things that are going to take with me for the rest of my life. And I'll never be the same because of it. So I can't thank Coach enough for taking the chance on me and, you know, giving me the keys to the car. And like I said, I'm still enjoying the ride, and we still got time together, and I'm really enjoying it. But God definitely blessed me when he gave me Coach Fleck 4 years ago.
Corey, I know you're not big on individual accolades, but I mean, you can see some in the past 20 years, only 2 wide receivers have won the Offensive Player of the Year. Randy Moss and Greg Jennings. You joined that list. Can you talk about what it's like to join such
I mean, whenever you're in the same conversation as Randy Moss and Greg Jennings, you know, it's always a blessing. Just looking back and seeing not only how far I've come, but, you know, this entire program is, you know, it's very humbling. And, you know, I thank God every day for the position he put me in. And, you know, I thank God every day for Coach Fleck and, you know, him taking a chance on a kid who, you know, didn't really have much and didn't really show much. So, you know, it's just a blessing, and it's just extremely humbling. So I thank God every day.
I just want to add, just so everybody understands, I think these are 2 of the best players in college football. And not are they just the best players, or 2 of the best people you will ever meet in your entire life. And anybody that comes in contact with these 2 young men and has them affiliated with their life is blessed. And it's amazing.
PJ, you've lived and preached the one game at a time. At this point, this one game season allows you the culmination of what the other 12 are all about. Have you talked with, you know, how do you approach that with, hey, this is a chance to make all those other 12s add up to what we were shooting for, that first MAC title? How do you do that without giving away from the one game season approach?
Well, I think you got to be very open and honest, you know. I mean, this is it. This is the end of the road before a bowl game. So this is the last true regular type season game you have. And I don't ignore it and don't talk to them about it because, again, it's one of those things that if you ignore it, right? And it's like I always say this, and you've heard me say this before. It's like raising your daughters. If your daughter never hears she's lovely from you, from age 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 15, 16, next thing you know, she's out the door with the first guy that tells her you look lovely. Well, I've never heard that before. I'm gonna go with that guy. Well, what about, you're my dad, but you never told me that. That's what we talk to our players about, right? Is we're very real with them. You can't ignore this is a championship game. It's the biggest game, right, that we have all year. One, because it's the next game, but it means a ton. There's a ton on the line. But this is what we wanted. This is the expectation and the pressure we talked about from the opening press conference when we took over this job, period. And the vision of Kathy Beauregard. This was her vision. And these guys, this is what you get now if you come to play for Western Michigan. If you don't want the championship pressure and the expectations to be ranked, don't come to Western Michigan. And these guys have handled that flawlessly. But again, they're still kids. They're still young people, and they're influenced by outside sources. You have to be open and honest, but you also have to be able to keep the culture at the forefront of everything you talk about. And that's what Row the Boat's all about. That's what one game at a time's about. That's what Changing Your Best is about. That's what Grow Higher's all about. To be able to give a little substance, right, to what they hear on the outside, because they're never going to ignore it. They're going to embrace it just like anything else. But we want them to embrace it, but then bring it down into the culture funnel, and then what comes out of that's going to be pretty elite. And that's what these guys have done.